Hey guys, is your dog Cosmic here, and today I'm going to be delving into a topic which I haven't really done on this channel before. This was inspired by a video I made a long time ago, talking about my experiences as a therianthrope, specifically a wolf dog therian. And I know people have made a lot of videos like this: Therian Territory, Azora, Dragon Feather, PD. This video is how to tell if you're a Therian, and keep in mind, these are just the signs that I knew that I was different and experienced, and the reason I'm including them is not because they will hold true for everyone, but because they're just maybe common signs that you are a Therian, and I know that it's different for everyone, so if you check off some of these, doesn't necessarily mean that you're a therian. You could be other-hearted, you could be a furry, you could be otherkin even, and that's fine. Doesn't automatically make you a therian. You could just have a love or connection to an animal or multiple animals, but if you hit more than 5 of these signs, checked off more than 5 of these, there's a good chance that you may be alterhuman, therian, or otherkin of some sort. So, first sign is you have a strong connection to animals. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. That's other-hearted. That's not the same thing as therian, as being a therian, which is correct. Therianthropy is not about having a connection to an animal. The reason I bring it up is because a lot of the therians that are aware of their stereotypes started out with a connection to said animal, though it's not a requirement. So, for example, I used to pretend to be a dog constantly when I was in elementary school. It started when I was around 6 years old. I would just always pretend to be a dog. Recess, every chance I could get. Barking, running around. And yes, I know that a lot of kids who aren't therians do this because, that's normal kid behavior. Who hasn't pretended to be an animal once or twice or 600 times in my case? Even today when I'm playing with my friend who is also a therian, who's also a wolf therian, we play games where we are hardly ever humans, and we play as wolves. Not necessarily our stereotypes, but just wolves in general. So if you've always played as an animal, if you have always, if you've never wanted to play as a human, or if playing as a human just really bugs the heck out of you, or it just doesn't feel right, it may be something to look into. Sign number 2, imagination. This comes more into imaginary friends and how you view yourself in your imagination. For example, I viewed myself as a creature who was not something identifiable in my mind. It was identifiable to me, but it didn't have a name. If I had to guess, it was some sort of hamster dog, teeny dog-like creature mixed with hamster. I don't know. I don't really remember. But I remember just having that feeling that there was a creature that had no name, and all my imaginary friends were dogs. If you have a connection to a creature, you could just have a connection to a creature, but if you see this as part of you, if you dream about this, it could be something to keep an eye on, which brings me in my next point. You dream that you're an animal. This comes down to dream shifting. It's one of the many shifts therians can experience. I've experienced it many times, so I've shifted in my wolf form. When I was between the ages of 6 to 8, I thought I was some rodent type of creature. I remember my family friend had a store where I would go and hide in one of the areas in said store and pretend that it was a cage. And I know if this sounds super familiar, that's because I probably mentioned it in my last video. And that's also one of the things that helped me realize I was a little bit different. If you dream about being a certain animal, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a therian, because it could be a spirit animal. It depends on if it is a separate being from you, if it's guiding you in your dreams, and chances are you're not a therian and this is merely a spirit animal who's guiding you and helping to protect you. But if you are dreaming of yourself as this animal, or literally shifting into this animal, in my experience, I've seen other people shift in my dreams. Sounds pretty weird, I know. There's a good chance that you may be a therian. And you may want to keep a journal or a log or a diary or something to help keep track of how often and when you experience these phenomena, these dream shifts. Number 4. Can't remember if it's 4 or 5. I think it's 4. But number 4. You express your animalness through art. I, to this day, express my animalistic side through art. I've gotten very good at drawing dogs. I have my own unique style. Back in the day when I was between the ages of 9 and 11, I mentioned this in my other video, I used to be obsessed with drawing cages and putting hamsters in them, or putting dogs in them even as I got older. And there was this one time that really helped me put together the fact that I was a therian. I mentioned in my therianthropy journey video that I was playing a game at my aunt's house. She had a golden retriever, so she had the cage for him, which is actually in our bedroom at this very moment. We have a dog that we're crating here, that we're looking after, and when he stays here, which is a lot, he goes in that cage. But there was this time I watched a TV show, and later that day there was a family party. I had just turned 11, so I was still pretty young, and I managed to convince my cousin to play a game with me where we were animals, where we were dogs, and we were like rocking around the floor on all fours, on our hands and knees, on the top floor, the bottom floor, the basement. We pretended that we had gotten kidnapped, and I put myself in the dog crate. That wasn't the only time I put myself in the dog crate. I did it once at my grandma's house, but this time it felt like I wasn't even playing a game. It just felt so real. She thought it was some sort of game. My cousin thought it was a game, but I was like, this feels so right. And I put myself in a cage at my neighbor's house, who also had a dog crate, but just being in there and feeling like a dog and acting like a dog, it really gave me species euphoria, which is basically the opposite of species dysphoria, which I didn't even know was a thing at the time. I didn't know about any of this until I was much older. Yet that is the most vivid memory of species euphoria that I have in my life. I just felt so almost like I was in another world, and to this day I remember it so vividly and so clearly. So if you get species dysphoria, if you get species euphoria, chances are you are a therian. Species dysphoria is the unease of being a human and not your stereotype. For example, when I look in the mirror, I expect to have claws, I expect to have pointy ears, a tail, silvery white fur with a black mane, and sharp teeth. And I look in the mirror and I see a human. If any of this distresses you, and you picture yourself so strongly as a being of some sort, as a non-human creature, chances are very, very good that you are a therian. Number 6. You watch talking animal movies. I know a lot of people watch talking animal movies, so this one is not guaranteed. This one is just a potential sign, but I have watched more talking animal movies than I can name. Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., Ice Age Trilogy, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, Charlotte's Web, Bolt, Marmaduke, Madagascar, G-Force, Finding Nemo, I already said that, and Finding Nemo, Homeward Bound, I don't know, just like anything with an animal, with a talking animal. If you can name it, chances are I've watched it. And that was just another key point of discovering my identity. I always could relate to the characters in the movies. I would relate to a specific character and I would be like, that's so me. And I watched Ratatouille was another one. Ratatouille and Finding Nemo were the two movies that I watched constantly as a kid. I went through a rat phase because of Ratatouille. I remember quoting the movie to my mom on several occasions, playing games where I was a rat. I had rat figurines. I had a Finding Nemo drinking cup. I used to eat food like it was kibble. I fashioned collars. My babysitter would fashion paper collars for me and allow me to wear them. Those were all signs that I was a therian. I know a lot of you can probably relate to this, but with all these signs put together, if you checked more than half of these, chances are you are an otherkin. Oh, and there's one more sign. Number 7. You don't consider yourself human. I know this may sound like a bit of a stretch, but it's common for people to be viewed as something you're not. If you're trans, people may view you as one gender, but you really know that you're the opposite gender, or you may be non-binary, and that's cool too. It's kind of similar in the way that the way people experience you, and that's my dog. Hi, Jackson. The way people experience you and the way you experience yourself don't match. For me, this made things difficult when people wouldn't use my preferred name, which I haven't legally changed. I just go by it socially. I had to work hard to find a name for myself. Just the way you see yourself is an animal. And I know that may sound cringy, but that's actually the biggest sign and kind of the requirement of being a therian is that you identify as an animal involuntarily based on non-human urges, experiences, and you're just not human. Like, it's not a choice to be trans, it's not a choice to be gay, it's not a choice to be anything really along those lines, so it's not really a choice to be otherkin either. And otherkin does not have anything to do with gender. It doesn't have anything to do with sexuality. They're not inherently linked, inherently tied to each other. But that is the main qualification for being a therian. Oh, on a side note, you may have written stories about yourself as a therian or otherkin. I remember when I was a cringy 14-year-old, I wrote a story. It was based on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this was just one story of many stories where I was a dog. I have a few stories. When I first started writing fan fiction, I wrote stories where I was a human, and I would daydream sometimes about being a captive human or a human, sort of like the damsel in distress trope, and then that eventually evolved into a captive canine sort of state. I've always had a thing for that. But my main point is I wrote a story about myself as a dog, and it felt so liberating. And if that feels liberating to you, along with everything that I've just mentioned, chances are you are a therian. Or an otherkin. It's up to you. I cannot tell you how to find your stereotypes, how to find your inner animal, because obviously it's going to be different for everyone, like I stated at the beginning of this video. But these are just the signs that I was different, that I was a therian, and I thought I'd share them to help any therians or alterhumans out there who are trying to find themselves. If you like more content if you'd like to see more content like this, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and I will see you all in the next video. Check out my channel for more therianthropy related videos. Cosmic out. Bye.